Vivo is a tool to build networks of scientists to enable collaboration and discovery of scientists across all disciplines. Vivo supports a number of tools, including tools to search for scientists and tools to visualize the information in the network. One of the challenges that participating institutions face is populating Vivo with information about the researchers in that institution. Let's look at an example. Here are three files provided on the Vivo website to illustrate the data ingestion process. The first file contains information about the people in the organization, their names, email, phone number, and title. The second file contains information about the organizations in that university, the different departments. And the third file contains information about the positions that each person has occupied in that university, the department they belonged, and when they started working there. To load this data in Vivo, we first have to map it to the Vivo ontology shown here. This is hard because, as you can see, the Vivo ontology is large. Then we have to generate RDF according to this ontology. This is also hard if we have to do Sparkle queries like you see here. We're going to show you a better way. This is Karma, our information integration tool. I'm going to show you how to use it to generate all the RDF files that we need for Vivo without having to write any Sparkle queries or XSLT scripts. So the first step is to load the ontologies. So I'm going to load the large Vivo ontology. And then I'm going to load Vivo Local, which is a little ontology that just has two properties, one for the people ID and one for the organization ID. The next step is to load our files. So I'm going to start with the people file. So I'm going to load, it's a CSV file, and I load it, and here it is. To map my file to the ontology, I use the show model command. And then I'm going to click on these red circles to map each of the columns to a property and a class in the ontology. So let me start with the person ID. A semantic type characterizes the data in a column in terms of properties and classes in the ontologies. In previous sessions, I trained Karma to recognize things like people IDs, names, phone numbers, email addresses, etc. So Karma here is showing me what it thinks the people IDs could be. The third choice here, Vivo Local People ID of a faculty member, is in fact correct, because this is the ID of a person in my local Vivo ontology, given that people IDs are not part of the Vivo ontology. So I'm also going to mark it as a key for the class, which tells Karma to use those people ID, person ID values to generate URIs for people. So I'm going to click submit. And then Karma shows me what I told it, that a person ID is the people ID of a faculty member. I'm going to define the semantic types for the other columns similarly. So the name is an RDFS label of a faculty member. This is correct, so I click submit. First is the first name of a faculty member. It's the top choice offered by Karma. The last name is the last name of a person. Let's suppose that Karma had not guessed this value correctly. If none of the choices were correct, I could just click edit here to try to, and I can define the property and the class myself. If I don't know what classes are relevant, I can click Browse and browse the classes in the Vivo ontology. So now I have the class. Similarly, I can browse for person, and I can tell Karma to show me only the the values that are relevant for last name. And I'm going to replace this with faculty member rather than person, because all the people in our data set are faculty members. So then I click submit. Each time I click, Karma retrains the model to recognize the data in the future. So this is middle name of faculty member, email address, primary email of Vivo faculty member, the phone is the phone number of a faculty member, similarly fax, it's a fax number. Karma trains both on the values in the column and the heading, so it knows that, even though these all look like phone numbers, these are phones and this is a fax. And preferred title. So now I have modeled all the data in my column. Oops, I did that wrong. So fortunately there is undo. This is the title of a faculty member, not of a person. So preferred title of faculty member. So now that I finished modeling, I can come here and tell Karma to generate the RDF. So here is publish RDF. I can give it a namespace. This is the namespace of our server, and tell it to generate the inverse properties as those are required by Vivo, and I click submit. And now there is a link here to the RDF. If I click on it, I can see the RDF. There is lots of RDF. Notice that the people IDs are used to construct the URIs of the faculty members. So this 2755 and all the triples for faculty member use the same URI. This is important because in the other sources we're going to generate the same URI for the faculty members, and that will link the information about position and organization for each faculty member. Okay, let me quickly get back to Karma and do the organization source. Will only take a minute. So I'm going to import it. It's a CSV file. It only has 3 columns. I'm going to say show model. I'm going to model the org ID, Vivo local ID of a FOAF organization. That is correct. Mark as key for the class. The organization name is simply the RDFS label of the organization. And the URI is the link URI of the organization. Submit. Generate RDF. And here it is. These are our organizations in RDF. That was easy. Now let's do position. So I'll close this. We'll import the position file. Do show model and start defining the semantic types. So we have person ID. We did this before. It's the Vivo local ID of a faculty member. We want to use it for URIs. The job title, that should be easy too. That's the preferred title. And so now let's do the department ID. So that's the Vivo local ID of an organization. We also want it to be used for URIs. And so we click here. Here, Karma records that the department ID is the org ID of an organization. This is correct. In addition, Karma searched in the ontology for a way to relate organizations and faculty members, and it proposes that the organization has collaborator faculty member. But this is not correct. The faculty member is a position within the organization. So instead of has collaborator, we need to find a different relationship that has to do with position. Position. So here it is, position for person. So I click submit. And now the faculty member is a position for person within the organization. Okay, so let's complete the model. Let's define the semantic type for position type. And this is correct. It's the label of a position. And the department name is going to be the label of an organization. Okay, so we have one remaining. Okay, the start date is the start date of the position. So let's see what we have here. None of these are correct. So I'm going to browse the ontology of relationships and search for something that has date. And I see that the only one that is in Vivo is datetime, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to say that that's the datetime of a position. So here it is. And click submit. And now our model is done. So I can simply go to my menu and publish the RDF. And so here is the RDF. We're done generating RDF. The only thing left to do is to load the RDF in Vivo. That's easy. We go here, we say choose file, go to Web Karma, and here's our file, the one we just generated. Open, submit. Vivo's processing the file. This can take a few minutes, and then we're all done. We simply load the other two files like this one, and we're done. All our data is in Vivo.